The English Civil War is notoriously complex. Some would say boring, but I would say complex. Charles saw other sources of political power as a diminishment of his own royal authority. He therefore did everything in his power to reign without ever consulting with Parliament. Lord Fairfax was the commander-in-chief of the army, firmly in the moderate camp, favoring a negotiated settlement with the king. Ireton favored radical political reforms, which made him an independent. He was a firebrand, and he wasn't shy about speaking out against the monarchy and the nobility. The independents wanted radical political reforms, and it looked like they were going to get them. The moderates wanted to restore the king to the throne in a reduced capacity, and it looked like they were going to get that too. A settlement seemed within reach. While this was going on, Ireton was urging the higher-ups within the army to break off negotiations and arrest the king. Ireton and others worried that the rich people in the House of Commons were going to sell out the poor people in the army by restoring the king to power. Ireton found some support among the officers, but Fairfax, an aristocrat himself, remained steadfastly moderate. In frustration, Ireton began going around and gathering public support. Public opinion began to shift, and the idea of putting the king on trial became quite popular, especially within the army. Fairfax and his moderate allies started to become nervous. After several days of debate, they decided to speed things along by presenting their own list of demands to the king. Charles flatly turned them down. This was a big deal. Fairfax had just stabbed the negotiators in the back. When news broke, the House of Commons and the army were immediately at each other's throats. Events were moving quickly now. Caught between a rock and a hard place, Fairfax publicly threw his support behind the radical independents in the House of Commons. On December 1st, Fairfax made his move. A bunch of soldiers showed up on the Isle of Wight with orders to bring the king to the mainland. The negotiators protested, but they had no means to resist. Fairfax had seized the king. On the next day, the army marched on London. When the House of Commons learned what was happening, the most moderate of the moderates packed up and fled the city. Fairfax had a tiger by the tail here. He was personally a moderate, but his army was out for blood. He believed that if he moved quickly and forced a harsh settlement upon the king, he might be able to save the monarchy. Maybe. If not, the nobility might be next. Revolution was in the air. No law existed under which a king could be charged with a crime. I tell you, we will cut off his head with the crown on it. I cannot stop you, but I will keep myself clean from having any hand in this business.